Hey, what's up, boss? Jaden, you already know.
All right, all
You
right, all
already.
right. Welcome to Vibe Osmosis. Introduce yourself and what you do.
Uh, all right. My name is Jaden. I play drums for a lot of local bands. I'm just kind of like a free agent, but I got some projects coming up. But I guess we can talk about that later.
All right. So go ahead and say astrological sign. Do you believe in the astrology from the stars?
Oh man, I'm not really like too big into it, but I guess I'm a Libra. I was born in October. Is that right? Am I? Is it Libra? Something like that. But yeah, I haven't really like looked into it too much. I don't know. There might be something there. I don't know. What do you think? What's your sign?
All right. So they say Scorpio, and Scorpio. My dad is
Okay.
born on the same day and has completely different signs. So like obviously I'm completely different than my father, so it's like hard to compare the two. And also like really hard for me now as like I identify or like can relate to this because like in so many aspects I'm like my dad's the born on the same day, same sign, but like I did not have like the same point of view at all.
Ah,
It could be
yeah.
the
I
whole
don't
Star Wars dynamic, Luke Skywalker,
know.
Darth Vader, I don't know.
Is that how you see your dad, Darth Vader? Word up. I got you. I got you. I got you.
Um and also like with yourself, you have worked on various music projects. You were recently part of Smith Math and also this Elite Terrorism Modulus. So
Yes.
go ahead and like elaborate on some of these musical collaborations that you have under your belt.
Yeah, yeah. So I was actually like talking to my friend about this the other day. Like my music resume is like as of like the past like couple years is so like fucked because I don't know, like I went from opening up to uh like local bands like kind of like Night Beast, and then I was with ETM, formerly Smith Math. And those guys are like on Orange and Milk, and then now currently I'm trying to start like a grindcore project. So I'm like all over the place, really. Um, but I mean, it's kind of cool. I'll always love the ETM boys. I think what they're doing's fucking awesome. But yeah, man. I guess right now, what I'm doing with this kind of like grindcore project thing is like just something I've been putting off for like the past like 3 years, really. And so I'm just finally going at it now, like full force. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, yeah, okay. All right, bro. So I think the most recent like kind of collab thing I did was Living Room with Dan Downing and Matt Reese. Great little project, and they're always like open to collaborations and stuff like that. Really cool dudes, really solid. I'm glad something like that is going on in Dayton. I think it's awesome. And uh, I don't know, just like really outside of that, man, I just kind of like I'm like a little free agent. I just if somebody asks me to play drums on their record, I do it. You know what I mean, or whatever. But yeah, that's about it. Yeah. Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah. Well, just like stuff I've been a part of. Some people might mistake me for playing drums on the newest ETM album that's coming out. I did not play drums on that. Uh, that was not me. I was just a live drummer for a very short period of time. But I hell, what else did I do? I recorded a project with this guy Alex. um, under the name The Lanterns. I played drums for that on the newest album. I think he said something about it being their last, but don't quote me on that. But I don't know. But yeah, I played drums on that. He was just asked. He just asked me to do it after I had texted him because he had like some kind of like ambient album that was like featured on like this like Instagram page. And when I found out that that specific artist is from Dayton, it turned out to be this Alex guy. And then I contacted him. I said if you wanted to collab or whatever. And then he finally got back with me after a while. Then that's kind of the result of it is that newest Lanterns album. But yeah, outside of that, man, I feel like I don't know. I feel like I'm still like a lot of the stuff I want to do. I want to do so much more with like jamming and music and meeting more people. I feel like I don't know. Like it's almost like not. It's unwritten yet. It's like it's waiting to be written. Like I don't know. I'm sure in a few years I'll probably have like a bunch of projects under my belt. There's a lot of projects I've done that have just like completely fell through, and the only thing that really like exists of them is like are these demos on my phone that I've shown like a few people, and that's always unfortunate. You know what I mean? But yeah. So R.I.P. to all the projects that never went through, and all the friends that moved away before they could get like seen through or completed.
I personally think like even once that project or idea was recorded, like in this instance, like breakfast at the zoo, me and my friend, we were traveling from down south Florida all the way out west, and like
Yeah.
even in the midst of like trying to record like little bits here and there, and like the songs that we recorded like while we were steady,
Yeah.
there's still like that I guess like the essence of like we didn't like officially like finish this track, and like we have this demo version or like all these other stuff like hidden on the shelves per
Yeah.
se, other than like you put out this release and like you're promoting it and you're playing it live or trying to get more people engaged with like that one project per se.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think it's just like really important. Just like you said, like you like recording stuff. I think it's really important just for like artists and bands to just like even if it just doesn't go through and it just like kind of dies on the vine or whatever. I think it's really important just like record all that stuff, even if it never gets like released or so it's not like entirely lost. And you can just like look back on it and then just like it doesn't have to be. You can just kind of. I think there exists like a space where you can do things as a musician or whatever, like for yourself. Like, I mean, that's what you should be doing. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people sometimes kind of like just have their audience in mind, and I think like we should like totally reject that. You know what I mean? Like, just do it for yourself, man. If you're not having fun, and why even do it?
I think to some degree, like I have like a lot of this old school. I like to say old school music, like music from like before COVID that I had done on the road, and like I don't look at it the same way as like even though like this producer was a part of this, or like I was like in a different head state or whatever whenever I was
Yeah.
working on this kind of project. I now look at it as like period statements as far as band oriented, like that record is definitely like one of those things where I'm looking for other people as like a reference as or whatever per se, especially whenever it comes to like DIY stuff. Like you're not necessarily knowing um kind of like the outcome you're getting from it, but you're totally pursuing like that idea, that dream, even
Oh
though
yeah.
like you're closed out to the world per se.
Yeah, man. I think especially when you're making stuff. I mean, a lot of people have different like rituals and like how to go about making like a great song, like a great album or whatever. But I think like isolation is like a really like good way. I mean, if you're doing it, especially if you're doing something like solo, um, I don't know. I've always been trying to like pursue something like that. Like, it's probably sometime in the future. I really want to try to like do like something solo. I guess in this point in my life, I'm just kind of like playing drums. I'm just like set me behind a drum set, and I'm like a little fucking wind up toy or something. Like I'll just like just sit behind a drum set and just like bang out songs for other people. But I mean, like when I do make a song or an album, hopefully it happens. I mean, I'm gonna try to like get myself in like a serious like headspace and just like I don't know, you know what I mean? Like just isolate myself and then try to like make something that's just like really cool.
Whenever you're working on drums, are you kind of focused on like what kind of drum patterns are like most fathomable for myself, or are you kind of winging it as far as like these notes are being played? So like obviously I can hit like whatever. What kind of helps you drive a
Uh,
track?
um, I don't know. I think energy. Like I think honestly, man, I think if you are a drummer that's not that experienced, but you have the ability to sit behind a kit, especially in a live setting. I mean, absolutely in a live setting. If you can sit behind a kit and just like bang it out with like sincerity, and then like even if you're just like kind of like not really like doing a whole lot, but if you just like I don't know, man, that's what I try to do. Like I don't know, um, when I was in ETM, if you ever saw us. But that's always what I try to do with like those guys and a lot of the other bands that I've been. Just like if you have that energy, man, just like make it really like just loud and just make it like really like like sincere. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't really think about patterns, and I don't really like think I'm like the worst about that. I'm totally self taught. I have like no like music experience like whatsoever. But I just know like I just kind of like go with what sounds good. Like I listen to a lot of music, and like I can kind of like think of like what sounds good with what. You know what I mean? But yeah, outside of that, man, absolutely not. I don't think of that stuff like that.
I guess personally, as a beat maker, what kind of helps you pursue the song and like know what you can add to the song outside of just like um, making noise per se, or like what do you
Yeah.
feel like is help adding more to the track too?
Um, I want to say like I don't know. It's always good to like whenever you hear something, like whenever I'm presented something, like if I'm jamming with people or whatever. I know this can't always be the case in some instances, but like if I'm able to like listen to it like without the drums as opposed to like I don't know, and then like if we just like jam on things like consistently, like I feel like it kind of like develops like by itself. I don't know. It's very easy just like it's very easy to retread ideas and like replay over stuff, and you're like, damn, well, this kind of sounds like what I did the last song or on the last track. You know what I mean? So you got to keep that in mind. You got to be like self conscious, but at the same time, don't like let it eat away at you. I think that's really like counterproductive. But just listening to it and just like really trying to get like a just jam on it as much as you can, and then just like obsessively go back over it with your band or whoever you're playing with. You know what I mean? And then I feel like naturally, if you have those things in mind, uh, you'll kind of do something cool. I feel like or something like that.
Whenever you're listening to music of other artists, are you sort of dissecting like what's being done per person or artist, or are you kind of like accepting it as whole and like taking from that inspiration of like, oh, I can do something similar? Like what do you kind of get whenever you're listening to bands you like?
Yeah, yeah. There's like yeah, like I feel like whenever I listen to something that's really rich and like dynamics and stuff, and there's like especially like I don't know if you listen to like a band like the Mahavishnu Orchestra or something like that, and there's like it's like a 6 or 7 piece band or whatever, or anything like that, and you're like, oh wow, you can like dissect these parts like individually, and you're like, I don't know, I'll just go ahead and say right now, I've never played like an original drum pattern in my entire life. Probably, I'm very like eclectic, and I just like take from a lot of like different genres of music, and I try to keep it like as wide as possible. But I really think with that, there's a way you can like make it your own style. Like I definitely, from listening to other bands, dissect things out. And I'm like, oh wow, that's cool. Like I kind of want to add that into my like drumming vocabulary. Um, a band that I really take a lot from, or like at least drumming, is like I don't know if you ever listen to like Don Caballero, but like the drummer for that, like Damon Che, like I oh my god, like I've taken so many fucking like drum like fills and licks from that band, like just shamelessly. But I mean, but you know what I mean. But yeah, I know. But I mean, yeah, there's a way you can like make it your own. You know what I mean? Like, um, in a way, I don't know if that makes any sense. But yeah, just it's no, there's nothing wrong in my opinion with having like an eclectic like taste and like taking things. But I mean, but you have to also like kind of like spin it to your own. There's nothing wrong with like being inspired that way, but just like kind of twist it around and like play on it, I guess.
I guess one of my essential questions whenever you're making a track, do you go into it like with this pre-concept or like theme or what you
Oh
want the
yeah.
song to like have envision images wise, or like how does it work for you?
Yeah, when it's been a while since I've personally like written. Like there is like so many. I'm not even joking. Probably close to like 500 like demos on my phone that I've just like used to write like years ago, and then even some like semi recently. But when I used to go into those things and just like I would have absolutely very rarely, very seldomly would I have like something in mind beforehand. I would almost always start out with drums and I would play the drums and then I would just try to like depending on what it sounds like or just like whatever, I just feel like I would totally ride along with it, which it kind of worked for me. I mean, like I felt like some good things came out of that. But I know everyone's kind of different, but that's just how I did it. Is I would just like start with drums, and then I would just play along to my drums. You know what I mean? And then from there, it would slowly like form itself.
One of my all-time favorite vibe osmosis questions. Favorite movies, favorite films, stuff that inspired you.
Oh man. Oh crap. A favorite movie? And it's been forever since I've even like sat down and watched a movie. But I remember like when I watched Fargo. It's a film by the Coen Brothers. I remember I really liked that. Um, I'm trying to think of like a movie that I've seen in recent time. Um, I don't know about that, but I remember speaking of Don Caballero, I remember what last thing I read was something called the Final Dark Days of Don Caballero, and it was like a uh, thing about their last tour. And by this point, they'd been a band for like I want to say like close to like probably a little less than under a decade. But they all the tensions are like so high between them all, and it's documented by this guy named I think it's like Phil Weaver, but that might not be his exact name. But he was like touring with them, and by this point they're like signed to Touch and Go Records, and they're like a pretty popular band. And they're doing all these like crazy tours and shit like across the U.S. But it's just like if you read it, like it just like shows them like all off stage and like behind the scenes, and like how like tense they were with each other. I think that was the last thing I read that was like really like I was like wow, like this is really like kind of like beautifully like written and like kind of poignant in a way. But yeah. Other than that, I think that was the last piece of like media I consumed. That was like pretty good. You know what I mean? What about you, Jeff? What about you? What's your favorite movie, Jeff?
I guess one of these ones that like I want to throw out there, besides like Catch Me If You Can, Aviator, like classic Leonardo
Ah,
DiCaprio films.
yeah, I was just about to
Um,
say Leo DiCaprio movies.
I would like I'd pinpoint like these these weirder kind of films like Risk Cutters is one of those
Oh man.
ones. Whenever like I seen younger, I was like, okay, like yeah, you might be experiencing like some struggles like as a young adult or whatever. You kill yourself and like there's this other world happening where you're still having like to make these connections with people and try to find love, or like you could have this possibility of finding love like after death. Like
Oh yeah.
I never put those kinds of like themes and ideas into my mind until like I seen like those kinds of films where I was like, okay, like this person lived like an extraordinary life and then they died. I wonder what happened after that, or like okay, like
Yeah.
this person actually did experience this, and they died, and like this is what they're going for. I feel like that was always kind of like the inspiration of like finding your voice, finding like yourself, and like how to fit in. And I definitely like agree with that. Like with music, like whenever I was younger, I feel like I was always trying to look for other media that would like maybe find like these random ideas more acceptable than like the like maybe I should just smoke weed and not think about anything kind of
Yeah.
vibe.
Oh man, like yeah, oh man, speaking of that, dude, I absolutely hate like any kind of like introspective like substance. I mean, there's definitely something to it. But like yeah, like smoking like weed and stuff gets me like so fucking geeked out. Like I can't do that like at all. Like I used to like kind of like semi habitually, but I don't know, just like I just feel like everything would just like cave in on me, and I just felt it like reals like this sucks. I kind of like it. Maybe it's like really bad, but yeah, I just kind of like I like sweeping all that stuff under the rug. But I feel like there's going to be a point in time within all of our lives, really, without sounding like too pretentious. That's like I don't know. You're gonna have to like sit down and confront like all the things you don't like about yourself and like But yeah, I feel like that kind of stuff and just like thinking about it, just for me personally, I just oh my god, I can't do it. Like it's way too much.
All right, so like personally, like I love sex, drugs, alcohol, rock and roll. I
Oh,
certainly love like getting fucked up at random time periods and like realizing like I need this existential crisis to like weed out like what I want in life. Like, like, am I just horny? Am I in love? Am
yeah.
I trying to fuck for like like
Yeah.
there's always those expressions I feel like in music and art and drugs of like trying to weed out like where is this coming from. And I feel like with like
Oh yeah.
music you're able to like identify relate to that because like you can see like maybe both sides or like find out like
Yeah.
that groove is really cool, or like I like how like those aspects of that instrumental is working for that artist. Like
Yeah.
what kind of about it, like what kind of like thing about it in the scene or music wise like attracts you to like keep at it?
Uh, how do you mean? Like keep adding? Like oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, man. I don't know really. I the only thing I can really say is like there is a part of me that does it for solely selfish reasons, and it's really like I don't know, and I'm just like I just kind of want to do it for myself, and then just like I kind of want to like I guess at the end of the day, to be like brutally honest with you, there's a big degree that shouldn't be like unnoticed. A part of me, I mean, that was like wants to like go somewhere with it and just wants to have like some kind of like I don't know, like legacy in a way. I know that sounds like really corny, but I mean, I feel like every artist in a way, like I don't care if you are like doing like harsh noise to like whatever the fuck. I mean, like if you, I feel like a lot of people kind of are bullshitting themselves and into thinking like they would do it for like nihilistic reasons and they just like do it just to like, I feel like someone, at least to some degree, even on the small or large scale, a lot of people want to have some kind of like acceptance or like by their peers at least. Like, like it means a lot to me with like if I make something and then I have a friend of mine who I like really respect, says like they like it or you know what I mean. It's just like and that really like kind of keeps me going. And if you trust someone's opinion enough, but at the same time, on the flip side of that, you really should I feel like be doing stuff like that for yourself, like solely. I mean, it should have to like come within you. You shouldn't have to like convince yourself to do it. That's why I haven't like written a lot of like material like on my phone. That's why I haven't like sat down and like tried like doing stuff because I don't really have that like insatiable urge to like go write music at the moment. Like I just kind of like am playing in other people's like projects, but I feel like eventually I'm hoping to like rekindle that and like have it come back. But if it does, it does, and it doesn't, it doesn't. You know what I mean? I'm kind of at that point right now. But yeah, hopefully that kind of like I know I kind of went all over the place with that, but like I guess in a way, part of it is like validation, and then the other part is like kind of like doing it for solely selfish reasons and just like kind of like I don't know, just doing it for yourself. You know what I mean?
I have friends like I know I grew up with whenever I heard their music live, I was just like I want to do that like
Yeah.
exactly, and then like whenever I got to work with them and play with them, there was always like that like should I even be here? Should like was what
Yeah.
I'm doing, what I'm adding, like
Oh yeah.
anything good? And then also like I'm also I guess like you face like a little bit of like whenever my friends would tell me like Jeffrey, like your music is just like it's not cool, it's not incoherent. I
Oh
don't know
man.
what you're saying, like what these effects are,
Oh
everything. It's like to me, like they weren't lying to me; they were being for real shit at my friends, and like I
yeah.
encouraged that. But then, like at the end of the day, I was like, I wasn't stopping and hanging up the towel because like
Oh
my
yeah.
best friend said, hey, whenever you played at Jerry Pizza, like I don't like understand like a damn thing you said or played up there.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Well,
and,
I feel
and
like
and and I guess like I look at it about it both ways. Is like okay, like what they did, like they had like this performance of like portraying like what they needed to lyrically or artist
yeah.
wise, and like what I'm doing is like maybe not like striding to that, which is like
Yeah.
I can see like the off-putting on like whoa, like you just got up there and like just started playing, like what were you thinking,
yeah.
and to me
Yeah.
it's like I can see that as like a pushback, and also as like also like a green light as far as like these younger artists, like they don't have music out there, they don't know what they sound like
Uh,
live, like go ahead and try like and see what you could possibly sound like live, because like you won't know until you try.
yeah, I know. And going back to like what you were saying about like certain friends like kind of like dogging on your music and your style. I feel like not to like if I for instance like had like friends of mine like say that about me. It also kind of depends like without sounding like an asshole. Like it kind of depends on who it's coming from. You know what I mean? Like if like I have a friend who I like I greatly admire. Like I have a couple people in my life who I definitely like look up to, and I'm not ashamed to say that. Like I definitely have like peers who I definitely like. I love what they do and I love their music and I think they're like fucking awesome. And like if I were to hear something like critical from them, it would be a lot different. I feel like hearing it from someone like I don't know, one of my hometown buddies, you know. And I know that kind of sounds like dickish, but I mean, like, like I would much rather like someone in that field who like kind of like works music and like does like cool shit. I'd rather like I wouldn't take what they would say like, you know, in stride. I try to like just like get criticism and be like, oh hell yeah, like okay, like what you're doing is cool. Like so if you think like whatever, but you know what I mean. But yeah, I guess it kind of depends on who it's coming from, man. Like I don't know, like where I live in Troy, there's not a lot of there's like nothing here. You know what I mean? Like you've been here before, but I mean like there's not a whole lot. There's not like a thriving like. So I don't know. I've had friends like hear my like grindcore like demo things that I have on my phone. And they're just like, "What is this shit, dude? Like this sucks." And I'm just like, like whatever. It's just what I like. But like, like you can't really like blame them for having that opinion. You know what I mean? Like they're not really into that. You know what I mean? It's like they can't even like, they're just not into it. So I guess it depends on who it's coming from.
I can like really regret because like whenever I was like living out in Philly and I was working like on songs with my sister, and it was like kind of just me and my sister, but like for the most part I was the guy behind making the beat, making the instrumental, trying to find out like
Yeah,
what like key this should be in or anything, and I'd bring it to my sister, and my sister just kind of wing at it, and I'd send it to my best friends and they'd be like, well, that part, like, it wasn't necessarily like in tune with like what you were playing, or like there's some like out of pitchy parts where
yeah,
and like to me, I was like, okay, like, I really do appreciate like this constructive criticism, because this is what I was looking for. But like, do you get the message? Do you get the vibe? Like, would you listen to this again? Like, I'm
yeah,
also trying to peek out like like what other things like you're taking from it, where you were able to give me that feedback to begin with, because like obviously any show you go to with like a brand new artist, like you're probably going to shut it down for the most part, unless you're
Mhm.
actually one of those open-minded people that's willing to give a new artist the time of day.
Yeah, exactly. And I know like I'm kind of gonna double down on my pretentious like opinion. But I'm kind of gonna double down on my pretentious opinion and say like, going back to like depending on where it comes from, if someone like a friend of mine whose like palette consists of like, and the only thing he really like has ever checked out is like kind of like local music or like his favorite bands like fucking Metallica. Of course he's not gonna like it, but I still love the guy. But I'm just like, of course you're not gonna like it, like But for the people that do, I mean, if people that kind of like go to those things and like especially like contemporaries and like peers that kind of like play music, um, in that kind of scene, and I'm referring to like that kind of like Dayton like grindy shit. Like if one of those guys say like they didn't like it, I'd be like, I would be devastated, but I'd be like, fuck, like back to square one. You know what I mean? Like I'd be like back to square one, back to the chalkboard. Let's try to like redo it. But you know what I mean?
Uh,
But yeah, I know that kind of sounds like I'm saying it out loud and it sounds really stupid. Like, 'cause I really shouldn't care. But just being honest with you, um, yeah, I kind of like I feel like it gets to me too much, which is something I probably got to work on. Honestly, I should just kind of keep trucking on.
I
That's what I
I
would like to do.
I totally agree, because like I've had this friend, whenever me and my friend was making music out in Seattle, whenever it first started out here in Dayton, Ohio, whatever. Like whenever we'd send it out, like we'd had his best friend come over and record with us. My friend Trevor had his best friend come over and record with us at this house that I was living at in Dayton, and that song later on becomes Cosmic Cactus Z, that I
Oh,
have out forever. But like
yeah.
whenever we officially like got done like messing with that track, and we sent him over, like the stems and everything, he lists like, I like how this sounds, I like what you did and everything, but this isn't like a complete song, this isn't a finished song, or this isn't actually like a song. And I was like,
Yeah.
in my mind I was just like so pushed back, like what isn't about the song like doesn't
Yeah.
make it a song, whenever like obviously like it's a recording past 4 minutes, so like obviously it's a song in my book.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's really, yeah, that's
Yeah.
such a like that's such a subjective thing. Like you can't even like really like criticize it almost. Like you know what I mean? Like I don't know. Like like I don't know. Like this is where I want it to end, bitch. Like who cares? Like you know what I mean? This is where I say it ends and where it begins. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. But my thing is like I don't know. Like I don't know. There's been times like there are kind of some instances like I don't know. I've like been in bands and like we have a song that like goes over like if it becomes like an excessive thing, but like yeah, it really is up to like the creator to like kind of like decide like where it goes. Like there is such thing in my opinion of having like an excessive song that like lingers on and like just goes on and on and on and just kind of like I don't know. I feel like it has to like kind of, but then again, that's just my opinion, and maybe they'll look at I'm sure like they won't give a shit about what I have to say, but there is such thing as like kind of like beating the what's that fucking expression? I don't know, beating the horse to death or something like that. I don't fucking know, but yeah, like making a song like extremely excessive, but I don't know. But then again, maybe I'm just like sounding really conservative about it. I don't know. My favorite artists right now, man, I'm all over the place, dude. So I'm gonna look at my I'm gonna look at my Spotify because I'm a little cornball. Okay, so I got Mr. John Mouse. Love me some John Mouse. I've been listening to Salem. This band called Omni. The only reason I know about Omni is because one of the guys from Preoccupations, I think, recorded one of their like debut albums, but they're on like Sub Pop and everything. But I mean, yeah. So, Soft Machine, the album Bundles by Soft Machine, really cool. Uh, and then just a lot of like goofy like gore grind bands like Miasmatic Necrosis, and then like it's Incinerated, even though Incinerated isn't really like gore grind, but still like really cool stuff. But yeah, I'm kind of all over the place, man. Like absolutely.
I guess I this will go back to the music question. Some of like those favorite albums like you grew up listening to that inspired you to like make music today.
Yeah. I would say like who as a drummer, playing drums, stuff that was really influential to me, you know, as a kid. And I'm gonna be honest, it's probably like every kid, or like at least for the most part, unless you had some like fucking like beret wearing parents that like played you like the most like obscure shit when you were a kid. But when I was a kid, like I would listen to like all the classics, like your Zeppelins and your Hendrix. Like I love like Mitch Mitchell, the drummer for the Hendrix like experience, and I still think John Bonham's great. But I think there's a lot more interesting stuff that was happening in that era, because those guys were like, you know, like obviously like the most popular, and then like the most like, but you know, like, and now like um growing up like around that same era, like I remember when I was kind of in high school when I discovered like Can. um so Can was really influential, and I love Yaki Liebezeit's drumming. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce his name. I don't know, but yeah, I think his drumming's great. I love like Can and stuff, like all that kind of like psychedelic like rock from like long ago was really like influential on me. But then I kind of like, I don't want to say I grew out of it. Like it's still there with me, but yeah, like just like your rock and roll like stuff. That was like what like most like stuck with me. And then obviously as I got older, um, I kind of started like branching out. Like I remember I had like a very brief like Smiths phase, like when I was like early, like kind of like early mid high school. Like I really thought Johnny Marr's guitar playing was like awesome and influential, which I still think he is. I don't really listen to the Smiths anymore, like at all, but I still think his guitar playing is like fucking amazing. But yeah, so you know, like tastes change and stuff. Like if you would like were to like tell me like now like the stuff I'd be listening to, like if you were to show like high school me that like freshman year, I would like probably vomit. You know what I mean? Like I'd probably think it was like so like just like terrible and just awful. But you know, you grow up, tastes change, etc.
Totally. I can attest to like whenever I was in high school, and like, what was the band that I showed myself where I completely thought like I would never give this music the time of day besides like rap music.
Yeah.
I it was just like, oh, like this is like the most trashiest like way to even like have out music, and then like it come in full circle, I guess
Yeah.
later on. I think it's really interesting because I was always like a Cure fan, but I never
Oh yeah.
really took into like the consideration to dissect like how they did use distortion or effects or chorus
Oh
or flange or and
yeah.
I kind of turned that like idea, I feel like, away very very quickly. Like I remember whenever I was younger and I listened to like the Misfits for the first time in like
Oh yeah.
third grade, and I was like, I will never listen to this like ever again, and then like be in like my
Yeah.
20s and be like, what the fuck, like the Misfits are great.
Yeah, man, they're awesome, dude. That was actually I don't know how I totally glossed over those guys, but yeah, Misfits was another band like that like kind of really like, now that I think about it in hindsight, even though I didn't start off with listening to like Danzig era Misfits, which is like the classics that like everyone loves and like myself included, obviously. I started out with their like their album from the 90s, like after Danzig had left. So I was like, I don't know how also listening to that, I don't know how the fuck I continued listening to them when I was young. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know why I pursued it, because it wasn't really too good. But yeah, like I started out listening to like I forget that guy's name that was like replaced Danzig, something Graves. I don't know. All my punk friends are like screaming at me right now. I don't know, but um, yeah, I so like after I listened to that, and then I was like, this is like the coolest shit ever. So I was like, it's horror themed. Like I really like horror stuff as a kid. I was like, yeah, this is awesome. Like this is my band. But yeah, but obviously you get like, now I think the Misfits are like more akin to like, you know, like rock and roll, you know, than anything. But they're still awesome. I even now they're like still like a they're like a giant thing now, and they're able to sell out like Madison Square Garden, which is like insane. But considering where they came from and how like they were like kind of like a small like cult thing, but I would still go see them. I don't know. I don't care. I'll never get pretentious enough to not go see the Misfits at Madison Square Garden. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like there. I feel like for me, like younger, there's like these bands like I totally didn't give the time or day, and then like as time progressed, like they came back to me, even though like whenever I was younger, they were right in front of my face. They were totally inspiring, and like I just like didn't like hint to it. For like for one thing, like my sister, she had like this mixtape CD that this guy gave to her because they were he was into my sister. He was like, I'm gonna make you a playlist, but like all the songs on that CD became like later on to me, and like those songs to
Oh
me is
yeah,
like, oh, like I see like all these varieties of band, but like I didn't ever give them the time or day. Then it was like
yeah.
it took until I got out of it. I can always like say like whenever I was younger. Obviously, like the Pixies and like the Strokes,
Oh
like
yeah.
whenever the Strokes were a thing, like I totally knew about like Juicebox whenever like that was like a first music video playing on like MTV or VH1,
Oh
and I was
yeah.
like, that's the Strokes. Like they have like
Yeah, man.
lesbians on their music video. I was just like,
Hell yeah, dude.
like I was just like, what the fuck
Rock and
is
roll.
this? Like this is something like I need to keep in my realm.
Yeah. Dude, yeah, I don't like the Strokes like back in the day were like the shit. Like even their early stuff like now, like even like listening to their like early stuff like what's that one album called? Is it called Is This It or is that one of the songs
Yeah,
off
yeah.
the
Is
album?
this it? It's definitely a great record.
Yeah, that's a good one. And then they have like a one of the EPs that has New York City Cops on it. Yeah, yeah. Those are like all that early like stroke stuff. I don't care, man. It was like great. Like I think it's like still like that whole like post punk revival thing that was happening in New York and like early 2000s. I think was like really like cool. Like there's like some like cool bands that like spawned from that. At least like were cool at the time, but but
Well,
like I haven't
definitely.
checked up
Like
on.
I can like remind like whenever like I didn't really know anything about these bands. Like I totally seen their music videos on TV, and like I gave it the time or day whenever it came like surfaced back around, or whenever I finally got back into school and like was looking up like pure volumes or YouTube or whatever. Like I can totally like, remember like whenever like these bands like meant nothing to me, and like as time changed, like that's whenever it became more relevant.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man.
I,
Yeah, like I.
I have this like same case I guess with like the music like we're making today is like yeah, that might like be of like today's theme where it might not be like so relevant or like be able to like not be as popular, but like once it comes
Yeah.
back in circle you're able to kind of piece in like wow, like what they were doing in their mid 20s or whatever like was very good or very cool, or like the reason
Oh
like I
yeah.
seen that back then makes sense now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, there's a couple things like I wanted to say. Like, you mentioned like I don't know, like I just feel like nowadays, like the like contemporary music, I feel like we live in a day that I don't know. This sounds kind of like pessimistic, but like almost everything's been done. We're like in a post everything society, and like I feel like everything's been done, but that shouldn't like discourage you or anything. So I don't know, but that's why you get like I don't know, you get so many bands that just kind of like kind of retread over stuff. Like I don't know, like I'm a huge fan of like hardcore. Like I think there's like so much like cool hardcore shit happening on. But like if you kind of look at it from like a critic's perspective, which I don't think you really should, but if you do, like it's just those bands are kind of like dime a dozen. I feel like it's already been like everything's been like treaded over already. But you know what I mean? I don't even know where I was going with that, but I was just, but you know what I mean? Like I just feel like we live in like a post like everything society, if that makes sense. Like I don't know, I feel like all the music's been like done, all the aesthetics have been like conquered and like like regurgitated. I don't know, without sounding like a complete fucking pessimist, but you know what I mean.
That's I mean that's I feel like that's totally how I feel about like whenever you meet a person that like you may be interested in like outside of like the artistic realm, like I feel like like whenever you meet people, whenever you say stuff like, okay, like that's already been said and done, like they've probably heard this a million times, so like I don't know any other
Yeah,
possible way like I can
yeah,
come off like any different than like how these other people have per se. But like I
yeah,
do maybe mean maybe the same thing. Everything has been generalized
yeah,
to.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's sometimes, yeah. I mean, if it comes from you, and I guess you're sincere about it. Like, if I'm thinking that way about music, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's things I can do that are just like, I don't know. Sometimes you can roll about it, and you can go about like creating anything really in any kind of like medium, and just go about it with like some sense of like, I don't know, just like I'm doing this because I want to. Like, I don't know, even if I'm like kind of like recycling like ideas that have been done, like it doesn't matter. Like, it's coming from me. Maybe it's different because it comes from me. You know what I mean? But then that also like raises the questions like, are your ideas even your own? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's been times where like, I don't know, like I'll like play drums to something, and then I'll be like, that sounds exactly like this, and I listened to that song like a couple days ago. So like, oh damn it, like I'm like going in circles, you know what I mean, like or something like that. But I don't know. But at the same time, like I think if it's coming from you, it means something. I don't know. I could be wrong. Like I think everyone is entitled to. Um, I think everyone's entitled to recycle or regurgitate content or art, if that makes any sense. It sounds awful way to put it, but I don't know how else to put it.
No, like personally, like with me, like I have like a lot of aspirations between like this journalism, this sort of journalism, the rock
Oh
and
yeah,
roll, music journalism, especially like the people that I really aspire to for that, done pitchfork music reviews like whenever I was
oh,
younger,
yeah.
read and was like, this is God per se.
Yeah,
It's changed my perspective of like, okay, like this is lighting the torch, and also like, these people as well were like kind of lighting yourself to like like that exploration of trying to find these other artists and actually be involved, especially whenever to me, like whenever it came down to it, it's like some of these questions and things like I want to know from artists, like they're not gonna happen themselves. So like, you might as well like be the one to try or
yeah,
learn for yourself, because if that's like what your questions are, then like you might as well like see if you can get it out of somebody.
yeah, man, yeah, absolutely. That's why I was kind of hesitant about like, I'm sure I told all the ETM guys, but I was kind of hesitant about like doing this is because I just feel like I don't have anything like interesting to say really. But at the same time, I feel like I don't know. I feel like I do agree with you. Like asking, like I don't know. You can learn a lot from just like I don't know, just like the most like mundane of things. You know what I mean? Like I just think like talking to people and just like you know what I mean. Like it just like I don't know. It just like helps you to better like understand yourself and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So I do totally agree with you saying like 100%.
And I guess we'll tie this back with your own like music and creative outlets. Whenever you're recording a track and like working like on a project, do you kind of go in with this own like pre-notation of like what you need to do, or is it like letting go and like allowing this to happen, or doing it track by track? How does it happen for you?
Yeah, it's just more like of a letting that thing kind of happen. So I'll just kind of like go at it in like a really kind of like I don't know, I guess the word would be like primitive way, like kind of like in a really primitive, like bare bones way. Like I'll just sit down and I'll be like, okay, like today I want to make music, or like whatever the hell, you know. Like I don't make like a proclamation like that, but you know what I mean. Like, and I'll just like, or sometimes I do, I don't know. But then I'll drive out to where I typically do all that stuff, and then I'll just like kind of sit down and I'll just kind of like do it and labor over it. Sometimes I'll get really frustrated at like at being like having like kind of like creative like blocks or whatever, and then I'll like chain smoke like 7 cigarettes, and then I'll go back in there, and then I'll try to like hammer something out that I think is good, and then by the end of the day, after like sweating over it for like 4 fucking hours, I only come up with like 30 or like seconds to like a minute's worth of like song or something, and I'll be like, damn it, you know what I mean? Like it's just like I mean, I don't know, like it's just, but yeah, like to answer your question, like it's just like a thing that just like has to happen. Like I feel like it's just like it's a thing that I do like solely for myself, unless I like release it, and then I just kind of like want other people to listen to it and then think it's good and whatever because it makes me feel good. But yeah, it's just got to happen. I'm sure you can agree. Like it's just like something that has to happen.
And before we go, one of my favorite vibe osmosis questions: if you're stranded on an island and you could bring one thing with you, what would you bring?
Oh my God, one thing I would bring a I would bring a picture of my little girl. If I was if I was truly stranded and I couldn't bring anything, I'd probably and I was hopeless, I'd bring a picture of my little girl just to look at. And that's probably that. Well, there you go. I mean, I mean, I mean, yeah, man. If I'm like stranded and I'm like fucking, okay. Well, I'm gonna die. Then yeah, I just want something to remember. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, without making it sound like too whatever. But I mean, hopefully that scenario will never happen. I don't want to be trapped on an island. What other answers have you gotten like without like naming names? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, Castaway. Yeah, Wilson the ball. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a classic scene where he's like Wilson. Yeah, 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 yeah. That's a great movie, man. You're gonna make me go. You're gonna make me go rewatch Castaway now. Yeah, yeah. And he had an inanimate object try to get away from him. What does that say about him?
Is dick gonna go into anywhere else besides Wilson?
Exactly. I'm gonna watch that later tonight, man. That's a great movie. I forgot about
It
it.
was one of those moments where I was like, "This is emotional dependency. This is what it looks like. I think
Yeah,
I
man.
experience this on the daily."
Yeah,
Like
dude. It's
weed, come back, Nug. I didn't mean to
exactly.
smoke you.
Exactly, man. I get that. I feel it, bro.
All right, so thank you for joining Vibe Osmosis. Any shout outs you'd like to bring before we close?
Oh man, a few probably. I'd like to shout out the ETM boys. I think what they're doing is awesome. I'd like to shout out Moiskis from Dayton. I think those guys are awesome. I love them to death. I'd like to shout out Stu, Dan, Matt Reese. I'd like to shout out you, Jeff, Spirit Navigator, because I think you're awesome. And yeah, I will see you sometime soon, brother.
We'll be partying hard this weekend.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. All
All
right,
right.
brother. Well, I'll catch you, man.
All right. Thank you for joining.
Hell yeah, man. See ya.
Ciao.